Welcome back to Temporal Directive, the Star Trek fan podcast, rewatching the entire franchise in chronological order. I'm Gary.
And I'm Tom.
And this week, we're watching Star Trek Enterprise's Stigma. Star Trek, the ultimate franchise. These are the podcasts of the Wakefield brothers. Their 16-year mission to watch every production, to seek out life lessons and new inspirations, to boldly watch like most fans have watched before. Tom, how you feeling? You back?
Yeah, feeling better. Feeling much better at the moment. Thankfully.
You're always sick.
Yeah,
Why are you always sick?
I don't know. I would get it from our mother.
You mean you're a hypochondriac too?
God, I hope not.
You better take some strong placebos to get over it.
That's it. Nice sugar tablets, thank you.
Broad spectrum placebos. Oh dear. Oh well, you feeling better?
Yeah, no, I'm feeling better.
I'm back at work.
Yeah, back at work, and everyone else at work's now sick as well. So
Did you make everyone else
that's
sick?
it. Everyone else is now crook.
Oh, at least you get to pick up their shifts.
That's right. Now I can pick up all the extra hours. So I'm
You
doing
did it
all
on purpose, right?
That's right, exactly. Knocked them all out so I could get more money.
Nice. I've been pretty boring, really, the last couple of weeks. Just work and work.
Yeah.
I did go and see the new Final Destination movie.
Oh, yeah, what'd you think?
It was excellent.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
It was different enough to be really good.
Yeah, okay. This is probably the first Final Destination I've, actually heard about and people have been talking about for a long time. I know there's quite a few of them now, but this is the first one that people have actually been discussing.
This is number 6, I think.
Yeah, I haven't actually heard people talk about them since, the third one?
Yeah, the third one. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because I think the third one was the last sort of, half decent one.
I don't know about that.
Well, it might have been the one that, stopped everyone from watching them.
Well, I know 1 and 2 everyone liked.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone of at least my generation
Yeah, I remember.
will not drive behind log trucks because of Final Destination 2.
That's it.
Me included.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's just going to go around this pretty quick.
Yep. I don't care if I'm breaking the speed limit. I need to get around this truck. And then I think number 3 was the roller coaster.
Yeah, I think so. And then there was
And then 4 must have been the racetrack. And then 5 was the bridge.
Bridge, yeah.
I think.
That must have been the bridge because that would have been the 3D one too, I think.
I think 4 and 5 were both 3D.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember the race car one. I don't even know that one so much, but I know the bridge.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you already have a bridge phobia.
That's
the baby that you are.
It's burnt into my brain.
Yeah. Anyway, it was very good. If you're a horror fan and you're listening and you haven't seen it, you should go and see it.
Yeah.
And Tony Todd was in it, of course, and it was his last film.
Ah, okay.
Before he passed away. And there's a Star Trek link there because Tony Todd is in Star Trek. He's Worf's brother and the adult Jake Sisko in The Visitor in Deep Space Nine. So, yeah. And other things.
Yeah.
He's been around.
Plenty of other.
Yeah. And then I'm going to see another horror movie this afternoon once we wrap up here.
You and your horror movies.
Oh, I love a good horror movie.
I like a good horror movie in the middle of the day with all the sunlight.
And nothing too scary.
That's right, as long as it's not too bad.
Like Goosebumps is probably about as scary as you get, right? Oh my god, they had a dummy that moved.
Don't go that far.
If it's a PG rating, you're okay.
What is it, Bump in the Night or something, that kids one? No. But I don't mind some of the classics that you got me into when I was younger. Like the, Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th and Chucky. Love the Chucky movies.
Anyway, not a horror podcast.
We should be.
We should be lots of things. We could do a podcast a day if we had the time. So let's talk about this week's episode.
Alrighty.
So the episode is called Stigma, written by Rick Berman and Brannon Braga, directed by David Livingston, and an air date of February the 5th, 2003. The IMDb synopsis reads, T'Pol is diagnosed with a possibly fatal neurological disease as a result of a mind meld. Meanwhile, one of Phlox's wives visits Enterprise and becomes very interested in Trip. That's it.
Yeah.
What was that for?
Why is Trip always the one that's like just
banging all the aliens?
Banging all the aliens, getting pregnant.
It's true. It's true. I don't know.
Ridiculous. And what you doing mind melds for? Don't they know they're dangerous back these days?
Well, there was an episode all about mind melds and how bad they are in season 1, if you remember.
Yeah.
The fusion was the episode, so this is a follow-up from that.
Yeah, it's all dangerous. Can't do that sort of stuff.
Can't do it.
Yeah, wasn't even really allowed in the original series, right? Even Bones.
No, I think it was allowed. I was just risky.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I didn't really mean allowed, but like Bones
it was not allowed back here in Enterprise.
Yeah, Bones was all against it. He's like, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway.
All right, let's go watch it.
Right here.
And we're back from watching Stigma. Well, Tom, first thoughts. What did you think?
It was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I really liked this episode.
Yeah, it was quite good.
It's
nice change from the last
heavy on the allegory.
Yeah.
Which was really good.
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all. Like,
I thought it was really good.
Yeah. No, I think it was done well. Like, I think everyone played their parts quite well, which is really good. Like, I always enjoy it when I actually believe them.
And it helps.
Like, yeah, because Archer and everyone's not a fantastic actor sometimes. As harsh as that sounds. But they're a bit hit and miss. But this one was good. I suppose it's got a lot of Dr. Phlox in it. That makes a difference.
During my research,
right,
according to Wikipedia, in 2002, Viacom, who owned the UPN network on which Enterprise aired, mandated that all fictional programs on its schedule would sometime during the 2002 to 2003 season, of which this is a part of, produce a special episode addressing the AIDS HIV pandemic.
Okay.
Brannon Braga wanted to write an AIDS awareness story that was a subtle allegory that wasn't too preachy or tried for cheap sympathy. Yeah. And the story was more about the stigma and prejudice surrounding the disease than the disease itself.
Yeah.
And that led to this episode. Previously, there had been an attempt to tell a similar story in Next Generation with a script called Blood and Fire by David Gerald, who wrote the Tribble episode in the original series.
Oh, yeah.
But it just never picked up.
Yeah.
On a side note, there was a fan series called Star Trek New Voyages, which I watched for a little while when that first started.
Yeah.
And they picked up the script Blood and Fire. And David Gerald did a rewrite so that it fit into the original series timeline that the fan series was based on.
Yeah, yeah.
And was so excited that it was being done that he actually directed that episode of the fan series.
Wow.
While working with one of their writers to co-write it and make it happen.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it was a very good fan production for a fan production. In fact, the New Voyages fan series was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I kind of remember that sort of being out for a fair while, actually.
Yeah, I don't think they did a lot, but they had like Chekhov and Sulu both appeared in episodes.
Uhura did one too, didn't she?
I don't think she did in that series. She might have. I'm not sure. Can't remember.
Might have been a different one.
Might have been a different one. But anyway, that's now the sets that they built for that are now tourable in the New York State. Yeah, it's an officially licensed set tour now of the original series. So
nice.
It's on my bucket list of places to go, of course.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yes, so anyway, that's a bit of behind the scenes stuff about this episode. And it was good. I thought it was well done.
Yeah, it was. It was very well done.
Cool. All right, let's get into the episode, shall we? We open on sick bay. Dr. Phlox has just done a physical of T'Pol and is talking about the fact that they're going to need some more information or supplemental medications because T'Pol is sick. She's been infected. They're about to go to a conference and he wants to talk to the Vulcan physicians to get some more information because if he doesn't get better treatment for her soon, she could possibly die.
Boom, boom, boom.
And we skip the opening credits.
Yes, because we might die if we listen to them.
Correct. And we get a Captain Star Log supplemental.
Yeah.
We've entered orbit of Tekendi 3, where the Interspecies Medical Exchange is hosting a conference. We'll be picking up a neutron microscope, but more importantly, we'll get a chance to meet one of Phlox's wives.
Yeah. How many does he have again?
3.
He's got 3.
Yep. Yep. Every man has 3 wives and every woman has 3 husbands.
Yep.
So we're in the corridor with Archer and Phlox and Trip, who are heading to the airlock, and they're talking about Phlox's wife coming on board, and he says that it's been 4 years since they've seen each other, and that the Nobulans are renowned for their patience. The door opens and she comes in, and she's, I don't know,
female denobulant.
She's a female denobulant. Not very exciting.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Well, not
for us.
Rude.
Wasn't anything special.
Ouch. Sorry, Mrs. Phlox.
They did that weird sniffy thing.
Yeah, they did the weird no contact sniffy not kiss.
Yeah, not a kiss sniff thing. Weird.
Yeah. They do their pleasantries. Archer invites them for lunch. Trip goes to walk off and get the microscope. And she stops and says, aren't you coming for lunch too, Commander?
Yeah. What about you?
And he says, no, I'll go up to the sick bay and make sure we get that equipment in one place.
I'll see you later.
Yep.
She's like, no.
She says, then I'll see you after lunch.
It's like instant.
And he's just like staring at him and just this weird, intense smile.
Well, yeah, she's got that extended smile that the doctor has. It's like, oh, okay.
We cut to the alien conference center with some very old CG.
Oh, so bad.
Some very odd-looking walking from some of the people attending this conference. That guy walking down the stairs was clunky.
It was like real robotic steps down.
But anyway, so I'm sure it was good at the time.
Yeah, fantastic. Everyone would have been like, wow.
And we're with Dr. Phlox talking to the Vulcan physicians, and he's trying to get some information on a Vulcan disease called Pinar syndrome. And he says that it's for one of his colleagues on Denobula because there is some similarities between Pinar syndrome and thymic sclerosis on Denobula. Oh, look at me with the technobabble today.
No, it's great, isn't it? You're actually getting them out in the first go. It's unusual. Normally you have to edit like 6 versions.
I know, right? I'm getting good at this. Dr. Orat, is that how they pronounced it?
Yeah, must
Orat?
Orat. He's
Whatever.
a rat. He's
Anyway,
a rat, so Orat works.
He's an asshole.
Yeah, so
but
rat works.
He says that he's hesitant to discuss anything to do with Pinar syndrome because the illness is unique to a subculture, a small percentage of the population, and their behavior is neither tolerated nor sanctioned.
Ooh.
Gay! This is our early gay alert.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very similar to what people were saying during the AIDS crisis in the 80s, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they haven't really been working much on a cure because it only impacts on the
gays.
small minority of Vulcans, the queer Vulcans.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Phlox asks for the information to help, and they say that they can't just give it to them.
Like ridiculous.
They have to discuss the request, and once we've reached a decision, we'll contact you aboard your ship.
Yeah, God forbid we actually just help people in need. We need to actually talk about that.
We need to decide whether we should help them or
Yeah,
not.
because we wouldn't want to help people being physicians.
They're not humans. They have no humanity.
That's true.
We cut to sickbay. Trip and Feasel, or Mrs. Phlox, are setting up the neutron stream within the reflector meter.
You're just showing off now.
She says that it's collimating the neutrons, not amplifying them.
They're fiddling around with the sci-fi magnascope, right?
I'm using my technobabble, Tom.
Yeah,
Leave me alone. So once they've remodulated the emitter, they initiate the neutron stream.
Right, yeah, sure. Okay.
Anyway, she's being very inappropriate and trying to get as close as possible, and
leaning up against
stares into his eyes and just all sorts
does
of
it all flirty
wrong.
thing.
Yep. He tries to keep his distance and
steps
whatever
back
else.
and does all that. Yeah. But
And
he's still smiling and like he knows
he's being
what's
polite.
happening.
He's sort of he's not really
smirking
playing along, but he's
No.
not like offended by it or anything.
That's right. You know.
Yeah. So we cut to the captain's mess. T'Pol and Archer are having breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Archer asks if T'Pol has spoken to Phlox since he got back. T'Pol says, "I wasn't aware he was gone."
I know nothing.
Yeah, exactly. He says that there's a Vulcan contingent down on the planet for the conference, and you might want to go down for a visit. You may know one of them.
Because all Vulcans know Vulcans.
And this is my second gay alert. Because I don't know how many times this happened to me even just yesterday.
Right.
Someone knows a gay person in Tasmania who lives in Hobart but comes up here. It was their manager, like big 4 levels up. And he comes up here. Yeah. And this person I know was like, "Oh, his name's blah, blah, blah. Do you know him?" It's like, no. There's not a gay convention. There's no newsletter.
we don't all just get together and go, say that we know each other.
No, that's right.
Having said that, I met 2 gay people that know you yesterday.
Everyone knows me. I'm famous. Anyway.
Yeah.
So that was my second gay alert because that happens all the time.
Yeah. So you don't have a conference every year?
No. There's not even membership cards. I know it's hard to believe.
Surely you get discounts at places.
No, I'm afraid not. They get interrupted by Hoshi over the comm that says that there is a Vulcan transport heading to them already that is requesting permission to dock. Archer says, "Cool story, bruh. Sure."
Yeah, he's happy. He's like, "Sure. Why
What
not?
else?
Yeah, let him go. Yeah.
Come on in.
Yeah. Normally with Vulcans, isn't he like, what? No. What?
No, I think he's okay with Vulcans now.
Okay.
Yeah, he's had some positive experiences.
Yeah, true.
So then we follow them into the hallway, and Archer asks T'Pol if she's got any idea what this is about. And she says, "I haven't spoken to anyone on the surface." And he says, "You can bet they're not coming up for coffee and donuts." We cut to the conference room. There are 3 Vulcan doctors sitting at the table. Archer comes in with T'Pol and asks the Vulcans if they would like some plomek soup. Orat. Orat, is that what we said?
Yeah, we'll say Orat.
Orat says, "We appreciate your hospitality, Captain, but we've come to speak to your doctor with your permission." Why does he need his permission?
It's like, what if I don't give it?
Exactly. This is weird. Anyway, Archer says, "Sure," and then Archer and T'Pol go to leave, and Orat says he wants T'Pol to stay. So Archer fucks off, and T'Pol sits down next to Phlox.
Yeah.
And Orat says that they've discussed the request, and then they're not going to share the data on the Pinar syndrome.
Yeah, which Phlox, thankfully, is like, I don't know why you want her here, because I didn't tell her that I was
has
even
no
asking.
idea.
She's got no idea why. Why would you even want her here?
Yep. And then they start questioning her. Are you familiar with Pinar syndrome, Sub-Commander? And make her define it.
Yeah.
Yeah, make
She's
her
like,
talk about it.
You're the medical practitioners. Why the hell do I have to tell
Exactly.
you?
And then they ask if she knows how it's transmitted. Then they ask if she condones mind melds that cause a transmission. Do you condone these acts, Sub-Commander? These mind melds? They kind of imply that T'Pol must be one of these people, or at least Dr. Phlox has
more reason
to ask than just a colleague on Denobula.
Yep.
But they're trying to figure out the motives, and that's why they're interrogating T'Pol. When they ask about their motives for these questions, one of them stands up and hands T'Pol a pad and says, "Are you familiar with any of these names?" And she says, "They're gay!" She says they're Vulcan names, but she's not familiar with any of them. And the guy that stood up, Strom, he says they're all melders. Not heard that term before. But they're melders, not welders. Melders. Which are Vulcans with the ability to transfer thoughts and memories to each other. Do you know any melders, Sub-Commander? Not well, but I've met a few of them.
Is that a trick question? Because you can't really know.
Do you condone their behaviour? I don't understand your questioning. And then they say that we find the behaviour unacceptable, and since the Pinar syndrome is only transmitted by those people, its cure is not a priority. So there's no additional research, and they're not going to help.
Came all this way for that.
Yep. Then we cut to the Vulcan medical area in the conference center. The pad that they gave to Pol has been scanned, and they can determine that she's suffering from Pinar syndrome. As we cut to commercial.
Tricky bastards.
Yep. I didn't realize Vulcans were so deceitful.
Not until this series.
No, they're rough in this series, aren't they?
This series, they're lying, cheating, fucking
assholes.
Yeah, they are. They're real sort of like pricks.
We come back from commercial and we're in sick bay, and the microscope is up and running. You can see Phlox working in the background, but Fiesel and Trip are working on doing different scans, like test runs of the scanner.
It's such a complicated scanning system.
Yeah. They're watching a strand of protein molecules being enlarged and zooming into the single nucleotide. And he says, "Are those?" And she says, "Yes, carbon atoms. But you need to reinitialize the neutron stream before you align the quantum."
Just stop. Fucking Jesus Christ. They done some fucking science shit with technobabble. We get it. You're on a roll. You can speak today. Fucking hell.
While Trip and Fiesel are playing with the microscope, Phlox is in the back asking questions about the family and extended family and stuff, about who's forgiven who and whose husband is whose and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, finding out a couple of ones have left others and moved to other planets and shit.
Yeah.
But they're still having a bit of a flirtatious conversation
Trip
around.
and Trip and Fiesel are still Well, she's touchy.
Yeah,
she
she's-
puts her hand up on his shoulder
Yeah.
to try to reassure him that he's doing the right thing. And then Phlox comes over and joins them and starts talking about some other woman he was going to ask to be his second wife.
Yeah.
Then he says that it turned out that she already had 3 husbands. And they all have a laugh and Trip
Yeah.
looks uncomfortable.
Yeah. And Phlox leaves them.
Yeah, Phlox leaves, and then because Archer hails him and says, "Come up to my ready room," and she just leaves her hand on Trip's shoulder and just smiles at him, like just looks totally enamored and
Yeah.
infatuated. But we cut to the ready room. Archer is sitting at his table. Phlox enters, and T'Pol's already in there. And he says, "I wanted to see you both because it's been a while since I was embarrassed by a Vulcan dignitary." He says that he just spoke to Dr. Orat and that he knows that Phlox asked for some data regarding a Vulcan illness, that both of them had told the Vulcans that T'Pol had nothing to do with that request, and he asks if they're both going to lie to him like they lied to them.
Yep. And he tells them about the scan.
Yep. Apparently they scanned her fingerprint and determined that she had a disease.
Yeah, now that's a pretty good scanner. All
A
those,
fucking fingerprint? Are
Yeah.
you fucking serious?
all those times they transported people up from fucking surfaces and shit and they were infected by something. I mean, just a scan would have been...
Just a fingerprint
Yeah,
scan.
that's just a fingerprint scanner on the way back on the ship would have been enough.
Just so bizarre. Just bizarre. Like, surely they could have thought of something different. Like, maybe they, I don't know, took transporter records or hacked into the medical database or did
Or
something
they could
other
have-
than just took a fucking fingerprint.
Yeah, they could have scanned her themselves while they were in the meeting. as
Exactly.
well. Like, they could have actually had a hidden scanner.
Strom could have been
Like-
distracting with the
Yeah.
list of Vulcans, and the other one pulled out a medical tricorder under the table or something.
Exactly.
Anyway, they end up talking and filling Archer in on the fact that she was infected during season 1.
Now, I did say you were talking normally before.
Yeah, she was infected in that previous episode.
Yes.
And he remembers that episode.
Yeah, sure.
There was the Vulcans that were experimenting with their emotions.
Yeah, going a bit cray-cray.
Yeah, and she said that they were part of the telepathic minority and that they had left Vulcan to escape the prejudice because their behavior is considered unnatural and seen as a threat. And so she says that she's not part of that minority.
But it can be infected to any other.
Yeah, you only members of that minority can initiate a mind meld,
Yeah.
but any Vulcan can be a recipient of a mind meld.
Yeah.
She was attacked by the Vulcan that infected her, but she doesn't want to say that. She doesn't want to tell the Vulcans that that is how she was infected. Archer says that Phlox is no longer welcome at the conference. The Vulcans have made sure of that, and that the number one priority for him is the health of his first officer, and if these doctors have data that can help, I plan to get it.
Sure. Yeah. Like to see you try.
Well, we do see him try because he gets in a shuttlecraft and he
And
goes
off
down
he
to the Vulcan
goes.
medical area. He's sitting in a waiting room and he looks really impatient. And Strom and Eurus come in. And Strom says, "I'm sorry, did we keep you waiting?" "Actually, you did."
Yeah.
"What can we do for you, Captain?" And Archer says that he wants the data and that Dr. Phlox tells me that he was only trying to protect her privacy. He doesn't make a habit of lying. And I'm having a little difficulty understanding why you won't share your research, especially now that you know it could help T'Pol.
Yeah.
I can't believe you're withholding it to punish Dr. Phlox.
That's
How
not
simple
their
are
reasoning.
you, Captain?
That's it. Like,
Were you not listening in the scene before?
bigger picture?
But Strom repeats what we already heard. Pinar syndrome is a disease that's unique and to an undesirable segment of our population. Thankfully, there are only a few of them. So very much we get the impression, hopefully, they'll
just die out.
infect each other and all die out.
Yeah.
So they say they can't condone the intimate acts that these people engage in. They defy everything that our society stands for. And he says, intimate acts? Are you talking about mind melds? And he says, we take great pride in our ability to contain emotions. Sharing them is offensive. Now, if you excuse me, we have a great deal of work to do before the conference ends. And then Archer says, well, if you're not going to help her, just don't tell her boss. Don't tell the high command. They don't need to know. That's not our job to determine what they need to know.
What they do and don't, yeah.
There's only one way to contract Pinar syndrome. Good day. So Strom storms out, but Eurus sort of hangs back a little bit and gives Archer
Gives
a
him
look.
Like, it's a sympathetic look, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I feel for you, buddy.
Yeah, that's right. And then we cut to T'Pol's quarters where she's meditating. And the comm beeps, and it's Hoshi who says there's a message coming from the surface. And she says, transfer it up to my quarters. And we don't get the message.
Nope. We just see her face.
Instead, we cut to the ready room. And T'Pol comes in and says that she was just hailed by Dr. Eurus, who wants to meet her on the surface and wants her to come alone.
Yeah. In a secluded part of the city. It always works out well.
Always. So we cut to the city. Eurus is hiding behind a column. And she finds him and sort of steps behind and joins him in the little secret space.
Yeah.
He says, this may be of use to you.
And hands her a 1990s CD rack.
There you go.
Yeah, that I used to have one exactly the same as that.
Right.
It's identical. It was a really handy one.
And what CDs would you have had in it back in the 90s? Spice Girls.
Aqua.
Gay.
Top hits. That's Bette Midler.
Oh my god. And you're the straight brother.
Yes. But Bette Midler is fabulous.
Oh my god. Moving on. So the container that he offers to Paul has all the research that the doctor asked for. And she says, you've taken a great risk to give this to me. And he says that it's one that I'm more than willing to take. And says that there's more intolerance today than there was 1,000 years ago, and it has to stop. And she says, why jeopardize your career to help someone you despise? And he says, if I despised you, I'd be despising myself. I'm part of the minority. I thought you might say it this time.
Oh.
Gay! As we cut to commercial. We come back from commercial and they sit down to have a deeper conversation now that he's come out.
Yeah.
And she says, you know that I'm not a member of the minority. And he says, as far as my colleagues are concerned, you might as well be. Anyone who chooses to perform a mind meld is worthy of contempt. And then she admits that it was coerced. Like she didn't.
It was,
Yeah,
it wasn't
she was
voluntary.
attacked.
Yeah.
And he says that he's not infected, but she should tell the doctors that she was attacked before they contact high command.
They'll be a lot more sympathetic.
Yeah, that's right. And then she says thank you, and he fucks off, and we cut to the mess hall.
Yep.
Hoshi and Trip are eating. They're talking about movie night, and Trip is excited about The Black Cat with Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi.
I haven't heard of that one.
And Hoshi goes to leave, but just as she's about to get up and go, Feasel walks in and selects a meal. So Trip convinces Hoshi to stick around because he doesn't want to be alone.
Just sit.
You haven't finished your dinner. You got plenty of time. Stay.
Didn't he do that well? It's like crap.
But Feasel comes over and asks to join, and Hoshi says, of course. Please sit down. Introduces herself, and they talk in Denobulan.
Yeah.
Trip says, I'm getting paranoid. You're not talking about me, are you? And Hoshi jokes that, yeah, we are actually.
Yeah.
Feasel's rubbing her foot up against Tucker's leg, like stretched out and like rubbing his leg. She says to Trip that, Ensign Sato barely has an accent, and she was just telling me how attractive she thinks you are. Hoshi says, she's pulling your leg. I was only talking about grammar. And then Hoshi leaves.
Yeah, very quickly.
leaving the two of them alone.
Yeah.
Tripp says to her, I'm very flattered, but aren't you a married woman? And she says, I'm a woman. That's all that matters, isn't it? He panics and rushes off.
Yep.
And Feasel watches him go.
With a big smile.
Yep. Then we cut to the gym. Reed, who I forgot even existed, is on a bike riding. And Tripp walks in and says that she's at it again. So clearly they've talked about it. Mm-hmm. And he says, Reed says that he finds her quite attractive. And Tripp says that he thinks he should tell Dr. Phlox what's happening.
Yeah.
And he says, what? That you're going to tell him that his wife is trying to seduce you? Does that sound like a good idea? And Tripp says, oh, I've got to spend the next 2 days working with her on the microscope, so I really think I should speak to Phlox. I'm like, what kind of fucking microscope takes fucking 3 or 4 days to install?
Exactly. Seeing as the last time we saw it, they were like fiddling
Testing
around.
it out.
Testing it, that's right. Fiddling around with just how to use it.
What's left to do?
That's it. What are you doing now?
Don't understand. But anyway, apparently they've got 2 more days together.
Oh, fuck.
We cut to sickbay. Phlox is looking at a monitor, looking at the information that T'Pol had received from Eurus on the surface. He says that he thought that there would be more progress than this. And she reminds him that they're not invested in creating a cure. It doesn't matter. They don't care. Archer comes in and asks if it was useful. And Phlox says, yes, it's useful. I think it will improve the treatment before the symptoms get worse. And then he asks T'Pol if he figured out why Eurus gave it to her. And she says, no, I haven't.
No idea. Don't have a clue.
Exactly. which is good. But he looks like awkward or uncomfortable or something. And she says, you spoke with them. And he says that they've decided to recall her. And that they're going to return her to Vulcan. Because Dr. Orat is the ranking member of the Council of Physicians and has the authority to do that. Archer says again that you should tell them that it wasn't voluntary, that you contracted this against your will. And she says, I won't do that. He says, why the hell not? And she says, I have Pinar syndrome. It doesn't make a difference how I contracted it. And he says, it makes a lot of difference. You're not a member of this minority. And Phlox says, he's right. You should tell them. And she says, he's not right. If I use that as a defense, as a way to keep from being taken from Enterprise, I'd been condoning their prejudice and in the process indicting every member of the minority. And I won't do that.
Yeah.
Class move. Integrity. That is good allyship right there. We cut to a view of the conference center, and we're in the Vulcan medical area, and Archer bursts in. Where's Orat? There's another Vulcan there that tries to deflect him. No, he's not available. No, let me help you.
Let me. What, the exit's over there.
Archer pushes through and past him and starts banging on a wall. You get! I need to talk to you. You get out of here.
You damn dirty doctor.
Orat comes out and says, what can I do for you, Captain? And he says, you have no right to take my science officer. Actually, I have every right. They argue about taking T'Pol. Archer says, you're saying that a single mind meld is enough to destroy her career? Or is it that she contracted the disease? That's why you're so hesitant to find a cure. Why bother to help people you don't approve of? And Orat says, I'm sorry you don't understand the complexities of our culture, Captain. What complexity?
Yeah.
Where's the complexity? You're a
That's it. You're a prick. That's pretty simple.
There's no complexity here.
Nope.
Ugh.
Yeah, because he's not wrong. How do you justify it? Is it the illness? Is it not the illness? Is it
exactly.
What are you trying to say here?
So fucked up. Archer pulls out a pad with some information about the protocols of the Council of Physicians from the Vulcan database, which says that any ethical misconduct accusation needs to have a hearing.
Yep.
And he says, well, nope, this isn't open for debate.
He's like, it's written. It's written, okay?
As it is written.
It's written here that I can do it. It's like, you're wasting your time, Captain. He's like, it's my time to waste. Fuck it, I'm going to do it.
Exactly. And he says, "Well, I'll do it tomorrow then."
Yep.
And then we cut to
Fine.
commercial.
Yep.
We come back to sickbay. Travis is there talking to Phlox. He's got a bruise from playing some sport.
That was so
No one really
dumb.
cares. It was
No. And then he's like, do you have, what is it?
Monkey in the middle? Is that what they called
Yeah,
it?
that's it. Do you have monkey in the middle on your... And he goes, no, I don't think we do. And then he goes, well, anyway. And then he continues as if he knew what monkey in the middle was anyway.
I know, right?
And I'm like, but he just said no, you fucking idiot. So how does he know?
It's all filler anyway.
I know. And I know that we know what monkey in the middle is, but like...
Do we?
I'm just not even going to continue because you know what it is. Like, you just fucking...
Sure.
But like, an alien species wouldn't have a fucking clue.
No. But it's like I said, it's filler as Trip comes in and interrupts and says, "Have you got a minute?" Even though you can clearly see that he's in the middle of a treatment.
Examination thing. Yeah, exactly. So just come back later.
You'd think you would just stand there and wait for him to finish before even interrupting, but no, not Trip.
No.
He says that he wants to talk to Dr. Phlox alone, and so Travis leaves without completing his treatment.
That's it. I'll just leave with my broken ribs and bruised side.
Never
See
mind.
ya.
And then Trip says that he's here to talk about Mrs. Phlox and how she's a lovely woman. She's very smart.
Yeah.
She knows more about quantum optics than anyone I've ever met.
Oh.
And Phlox says she is remarkable. And he says that he's been a perfect gentleman, that nothing's happened, but she is making advances, if you know what I mean. And Phlox says, sexual advances? And dry.
Yeah.
And Trip says, I'm afraid so. And then Phlox starts grinning and goes, has she offered you to give you a rose petal bath? No, nothing like that. Oh, any man would be a fool to ignore the romantic overtures of a healthy Danubian woman.
So happy. He's
so excited for Trip.
Yeah.
And Trip's like, no, she's your wife. And he's like, what's that got to do with it?
Yeah, so?
And? Oh, you're too concerned with human morality. I thought you wanted to learn about new cultures. Isn't that why you joined Starfleet?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I was brought up believing you don't play around with another man's wife. And I don't think I'm ever going to change my mind about that. As you wish.
Yeah.
Your loss.
Your loss.
But yeah, you would think that later on, Archer goes on this thing about how there's no bigotry, we embrace diversity, we don't, everyone is different and we love it.
Yeah, we want that.
But we still have this idea that polyamory is not okay.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get me wrong. Like, I can kind of understand, like, Trip's reluctance with another species to maybe not get involved in that straight away.
Not Trips.
Well, yeah, Trip not so much. I mean, he'll just go and get pregnant by any old stuff, like alien species.
How many people has he argued and made out with?
That's it, exactly. He'll just bang anything. He's like Captain Kirk. But like, you know, I kind of get that, like, hesitance. But, like, you know, if you had to talk to the doctor first, once he was sort of, like, happy about it and given permission, like, just go for it.
If you want to, yeah.
Yeah, like, if you want to.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you just be like, well, okay, well, fine.
Yep. You would think so. Anyway.
Yeah. His loss.
Your loss. We cut to Paul's quarters and she's packing. Archer comes in, says that he spoke to Dr. Orat.
He's just told her that he's taken a big paper thing down and said, look, it's here, I can do it, I can fight for you.
Yes. So there is going to be a hearing tomorrow. And she says, you need to understand that I'm not going to tell them how I got the disease. And he says, I'll go along with that, I promise. But you've got to understand, I'm not going to give you up without a fight. Oh.
Yeah, isn't that sweet?
Oh. We cut to the conference centre. There's another CG shot of the centre before we go into the Vulcan medical area. Eurus, Orat, and Strom are sitting at a long table with Archer and T'Pol on the opposite side. Strom says the fact that she has Pinar syndrome is not the reason she's being recalled. And Archer says, no, it has to do with how she got infected. A mind meld over a year ago. When it took place is not pertinent.
Sure. So she's been able to do her job and everything's just like fine without any issues for a year, but okay, whatever.
And then Orat reiterates that mind melds are only practiced by a subculture that is unacceptable.
They go over it all again.
Yeah, they go over most of it again.
Yeah.
Strom says that people with disability, the melders, are genetic aberrations who prey on people like T'Pol.
Yeah.
People foolish enough to experiment with their abhorrent behavior. And this is where Archer says, you humans are too volatile, too irrational, too narrow-minded. That's what I've heard for years from every Vulcan I met. But we don't hold a candle to you when it comes to narrow-minded. We got rid of bigotry nearly a century ago. We're not afraid of diversity. We don't persecute it. We embrace it. If you call yourselves enlightened, you have to accept people who are different than you are. I was like, when can we get there? I was like, okay, for a century, he said, right? Nearly a century?
Yeah.
What year is it? Counting backwards, are we there yet? We're not.
Still got another 50 years or more, right?
God damn.
When was it? 21 something, isn't it?
Anyway, we're not there yet, but, you know, humans are at least on that course, I would hope. Although current political climate might differ.
You got that fucking right.
But anyway, let's not get into that on this podcast. We might be here for a while.
Tune into our political offshoot.
Yeah. So they're debating whether to take T'Pol or not. She's talking about that there's no rules to oppress minorities. They're saying that this whole process is ridiculous and we need to end the inquiry. And then Yura says she knows exactly what she's talking about. And Orat says, are you questioning our judgment? And he says, there is nothing abhorrent about the way we lead our lives. And Strom looks shocked. For a Vulcan, he looks shocked.
Yeah.
And he says, we?
We?
And Yura says, there is no simple definition of intimacy. Those of us capable of mind melds are no different than you are. And Orat says, you realize you are jeopardizing your reputation and career.
Oh, I'm sorry. Should I take it back now?
Yura says, we share our thoughts differently. We shouldn't be punished for that. And then Orat says, the High Command will determine whether either of you will be punished. And they stand up to leave. And then Yura tells the other two that T'Pol was assaulted. She was violated. It was against her will. And they talk a little bit about trying to prove that, but no one wants to confirm it. T'Pol doesn't confirm it.
And T'Pol's like, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to say a word.
Archer says
she doesn't want
to talk about it, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
Again, good allyship from T'Pol here.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't want to perpetuate that persecution.
Yep.
Then we cut to sickbay. Trip, Phlox, and Feasel are standing in front of the new neutron microscope. Mm-hmm. And they're saying goodbye. Feasel and Phlox are saying goodbye by doing that sniffy thing again.
Such a weird thing.
And saying, I hope it's not another 4 years until I see you again. And Feasel says, your other wives are anxious to see you as well.
Yeah. Then there's a whole thing.
Phlox says, Commander Tucker assures me he'll keep your beautiful microscope in perfect running order.
Yeah.
And Feasel says, as his doctor, I hope you'll keep Commander Tucker in perfect running order. Perhaps that'll motivate me to visit more often. And Phlox says, it's a shame you two didn't get to know each other better. And he tries to make a quick exit. He's like, well, I've got to get back to my warp engines.
Yeah.
The plasma's running a little hot. And Feasel says, I know how it feels.
It was such a good moment.
And then he says, pleasure meeting you, and walks out.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, get me out of here. And then Feasel and Phlox look at each other, and Phlox says, humans. They just both laugh.
They just giggle. It's great.
It's real good.
It was such a good scene.
Yeah.
They just played it so well.
Those two are good together, too.
They are.
Yeah. We cut to the ready room, and T'Pol enters, and Archer says that Dr. Eurus has been suspended and that he'll lose his standing with the medical exchange when they get back to Vulcan. And she says, yep, that was expected.
And he says the one good thing that came out of all of this is that you are not being recalled. T'Pol asked for permission to contact the High Command to fight for Eurus. T'Pol says maybe this incident will encourage others to speak out, and Archer says let's hope so. And they all live happily ever after.
Yeah, no bigotry
until
ever
next
again.
week. Now that we talked through it, Tom, any other thoughts?
Not really. It's just the same again. It's just a pretty good episode, really. Everyone was really on the ball with it. Like, it was really well acted. It was well timed, well paced. Like, it was just really good. It was enjoyable.
It was a good episode. Good allegory. Good message. I like that it touched on like inclusion and diversity. It touched on polyamory, like different relationships.
Yeah.
I thought it was
it was done in both a fun way with the
polyamory
stuff and sort of made it a little bit lighter for the other stuff that was going on as well.
Yeah.
So which was really
helped
good.
to balance the episode.
Yeah. So I think it was done very, very well.
I agree. Okay. Life lesson in this one?
Gee, I wonder. How would you put it, being the person that's involved in the LGBTQIA community?
Don't be a
Yeah, that's pretty much the basis of everything in life.
I would say that I think Captain Archer sums it up perfectly.
Yeah.
That getting rid of bigotry, not being afraid of diversity, not persecuting people who are different, we embrace those differences and accept people who are different than you are. That whole
Little
idea, that whole little paragraph of sentences that Archer said there is the embodiment of what we should be working towards as a culture.
Yeah.
We can't continue without diversity.
Yeah.
Diversity is our strength, not our weakness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect. Like, I can't say it better.
All right. IMDb rating. So our examples of 1 episodes of Voyager's Threshold and Enterprise's Precious Cargo. Examples of 10 episodes of Next Gen's Tapestry and Deep Space Nine's Far Beyond the Stars. With those ones in mind, what are we going to rate this episode?
I'd say it's pretty well up there. So I'd say probably a nice 7 or an 8.
I would say this is actually... I would probably maybe go a 9 on this one.
What was our 8?
If I look at it 8s, we've got things like Acquisition, that Ferengi one, Detained, Voxola, Shockwave, Dead Stop. Those are all 8s, and I think this is better than those. 9 other 9s that we've given have only been Dear Doctor and Carbon Creek are the only other 2 9s.
Yeah.
But I think this one is on par with those 2.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty much up there with that. Yeah, all right. I'll go with a 9. Yeah.
Go with a 9?
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
9 it is for Stigma. Cool. All right, I guess that's it for this week.
Yeah, righto.
If you want to get in touch and talk about this episode or Star Trek in general, you can find us on Facebook at Temporal Directive Podcast and on Instagram, just Temporal Directive, or you can email us at wakefield_productions@outlook.com. We'd love to hear from you, so please send us a message. We'll be back next week with the episode Ceasefire. Live long and prosper.
Peace and long life.